Have you ever wondered why some people seem to change their lives while others keep making the same promises year after year? Why is it so easy to fall into bad habits, yet so difficult to build good ones? Most of us think success comes from motivation, talent, or luck. But what if that's not true? What if the biggest thing shaping your future isn't one life-changing decision, but the small choices you make every single day? In today's video, we're going to explore how your daily habits slowly shape your identity, your confidence, and ultimately, the life you live. More importantly, you'll discover why lasting change doesn't begin with your goals. It begins with the person you choose to become. You'll look at your habits in a completely different way, and you might even realize that changing your life is much simpler than you once believed. Grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's begin. The life you're living is built by repetition. Part 1. Why most people never change. Have you ever promised yourself that this time would be different? Maybe you said, tomorrow I'll wake up early, or starting Monday, I'll study every day. Maybe you told yourself that this would finally be the year you got your life together. At first, everything feels exciting. You feel motivated. You make a schedule. You imagine a better future. But after a few days, the excitement disappears. You sleep in. You skip your workout. You scroll through social media instead of reading or studying. And before you know it, you're back where you started. If you've ever experienced this, you're not alone. Almost everyone has, for a long time. I thought people failed because they weren't disciplined enough. I believed successful people simply had stronger willpower, but the more I observed people and reflected on my own experiences, the more I realized something surprising. Most people don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because they depend on motivation, and motivation is temporary. Think about the last time you felt incredibly motivated. Maybe it was after watching an inspiring video, maybe it was New Year's Day, or maybe someone challenged you to improve yourself. For a while, you felt unstoppable, but a week later, that feeling was gone. That's because motivation is like the weather. Some days it's bright and sunny, other days it's cloudy. If your progress depends on motivation, then your progress will always be unpredictable. This is why habits matter so much. Habits don't ask whether you feel inspired today. They simply become part of your routine. Imagine two students preparing for the same exam. The first student studies only when they feel motivated. The second student studies for 1 hour every evening, whether they feel like it or not. Who do you think will improve more after 6 months? Probably the second student, not because they're smarter, not because they're more talented, but because they built a routine that keeps moving forward. Even on difficult days, this is something many people misunderstand. We often believe our lives are changed by one huge decision, but when you look closely, your future is usually shaped by hundreds of small decisions. One extra chapter read, one extra workout, one conversation that teaches you something new, one evening spent learning instead of scrolling. Each choice seems too small to matter, but together, they create the direction of your life. Think about a river. A river doesn't change the landscape because of one powerful wave. It changes the land because water flows over the same path every single day. Eventually, even solid rock begins to change. Your habits work the same way. Every repeated action slowly shapes your mind, your character, and your future. This also explains why bad habits are so easy to keep. They often feel comfortable. Watching one more video doesn't seem harmful. Skipping one workout doesn't seem important. Putting off today's work until tomorrow feels harmless. But habits grow quietly. The small choices you repeat become normal. Then normal becomes your lifestyle, and your lifestyle becomes your future. The scary part is that this happens whether you're paying attention or not. Every day, your habits are creating someone. The real question is, are they creating the person you want to become? Many people spend years waiting for the perfect opportunity. They say, when I have more money, when I have more time, when life becomes easier, then I'll change. But life rarely becomes easier before we decide to become stronger. Waiting doesn't create change, action does. Even the smallest action matters. Reading 5 pages instead of none, studying for 20 minutes instead of scrolling for 20 minutes, going for a short walk instead of staying in bed all day. These choices may look insignificant today, but tomorrow they become part of your identity, And that is the beginning of real transformation. You don't become a different person overnight. You become a different person one decision at a time. In the next part, we'll explore something even more important. If habits shape your life, then what shapes your habits? The answer might completely change the way you think about yourself. The life you're living is built by repetition. Part 2, the story you tell yourself controls your future. Let me ask you a simple question. Who are you? Not your name, not your age, not your job or what you're studying. I mean, how do you describe yourself when nobody else is listening? Maybe you tell yourself, I'm shy, I'm always late, I'm not smart enough, I can never stay consistent, I'm just not lucky. These may seem like ordinary thoughts, but have you ever noticed how often you act according to them? Imagine someone who has believed for years that they are bad at public speaking. One day, they get the opportunity to give a presentation. Before they even begin, they think, I'm going to embarrass myself. Their hands start shaking. Their voice becomes quieter. They avoid eye contact after the presentation. They say, see, I knew I wasn't good at this. But was it really because they couldn't speak? Or did they act according to the story they had been telling themselves for years? The stories we repeat become the lens through which we see ourselves, and once we believe something about ourselves, our brain starts looking for evidence to support it. If you believe you're lazy, every time you procrastinate, your brain says, see, that's exactly who you are. If you believe you're not creative, every idea you struggle with becomes proof. Slowly, these beliefs become part of your identity, and that's where many people get stuck. They think their identity is fixed. They believe, this is just the way I am. But is it? Think back to when you were a child. You probably believed different things about yourself than you do today. Maybe you were fearless. Maybe you loved drawing. Maybe you enjoyed asking questions about everything. Over time, experiences changed you. Teachers, friends, family, success, failure, compliments, and criticism all added pieces to the story you tell yourself. Some of those stories helped you grow. Others quietly held you back. The good news is this, story can be rewritten. Your past may explain why you think the way you do, but it doesn't have to decide who you become. Imagine carrying a backpack filled with heavy stones. Each stone represents a belief you've carried for years. I'm not good enough. I always fail. People like me don't succeed. As long as you keep carrying those stones, every step forward feels harder. But what happens when you start putting them down? What happens when you replace them with new beliefs based on growth instead of fear? Instead of saying, I'm terrible at learning, you say, I'm still learning and I improve every time I practice. Instead of, I always give up, you say, I'm becoming someone who finishes what they start. Notice something important. You don't have to lie to yourself. You're not pretending you're already perfect. You're simply giving yourself permission to grow. Growth begins the moment you stop treating your weaknesses as permanent. Think about a tree when it's planted. It doesn't look impressive. It's small, fragile, easy to overlook. But every day, without making any noise, it grows a little stronger. Its roots sink deeper. Its trunk becomes thicker. Years later, it stands where storms can't easily knock it down. People often notice the strong tree. They rarely think about the years of quiet growth that made it possible. Your identity grows in the same way, not through one dramatic moment, but through thousands of quiet moments that nobody else sees. Every time you choose courage over fear, every time you choose learning over excuses, every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen the person you're becoming. One day, you'll look back and realize you aren't the same person anymore, not because one big event changed your life, but because your daily choices slowly changed the story you believed about yourself. Here's a question I want you to think about. If someone followed you around for the next 30 days and watched your daily actions, what kind of person would they say you are? Would they see someone who gives up easily, or someone who keeps trying? Would they see someone who dreams, or someone who also takes action? Because the truth is, your life isn't shaped only by what you say you want, it's shaped by what you repeatedly do. and every action is quietly writing the next chapter of your story. In the next part, we'll talk about why tiny actions that seem meaningless today can completely transform your future years from now. The life you're living is built by repetition. Part 3, why small actions create big results. You ever looked at someone successful and wondered, how did they get so far ahead? From the outside, it often looks like success happened overnight. One day, nobody knew them. The next day, they're famous, they're healthy, they're confident, they're wealthy. They're living the life many people dream about. But what we usually don't see is everything that happened before that moment. We don't see the mornings they woke up early when no one was watching. We don't see the books they finished, the skills they practiced, or the mistakes they learned from. Success rarely appears all at once. It grows quietly. Imagine planting two seeds on the same day. The first seed is watered every single day. The second is watered only once in a while. For the first few weeks, they may look almost identical. You might even think watering every day doesn't matter. But months later, the difference becomes impossible to ignore. One grows into a healthy tree, the other struggles to survive. Our daily actions work exactly the same way. Most people ignore small habits because the results aren't immediate. You study for 1 hour today, nothing changes. You exercise today, your body looks exactly the same. You save a little money this week, you don't suddenly become rich because the reward doesn't come instantly. Many people quit before the habit has time to work. But here's something I've realized. Life keeps score even when you can't see it. Every healthy meal is an investment. Every page you read adds knowledge. Every workout makes you slightly stronger. Every skill you practice makes tomorrow a little easier than today. Think about learning a language. On your first day, you might learn 5 new words. That doesn't feel impressive. On the second day, maybe 5 more. Still, you can't hold a conversation. After 1 month, you know more than 100 words. After 6 months, you're understanding sentences. After a year, you're speaking with confidence. The progress didn't happen in one day. It happened because small improvements kept adding up. The same is true in every part of life. Confidence is built one brave decision at a time. Discipline is built one completed task at a time. Trust is built one kept promise at a time. You don't suddenly wake up as a different person. You become that person gradually. Unfortunately, the opposite is also true. Small negative habits grow too. Skipping one workout doesn't ruin your health, but skipping dozens of workouts changes your body. Spending 1 hour scrolling through social media isn't a disaster, but repeating that every day can quietly steal months or even years of your life. One unhealthy meal doesn't matter much, but repeating unhealthy choices over time changes your energy, your health, and even your confidence. The scary thing about bad habits is that they often feel harmless in the beginning. The consequences don't show up immediately. That's why they're easy to repeat. Good habits feel difficult now but reward you later. Bad habits feel rewarding now but become expensive later. So every day, you're making a choice. Do you want comfort today or a better life tomorrow? Here's another way to think about it. Imagine you're steering a ship across the ocean. If you change the direction by just 1 degree, nothing seems different at first, but after traveling thousands of kilometers, that tiny change leads to a completely different destination. Your habits are like that 1 degree adjustment. Tiny today, life-changing tomorrow. This is why consistency is far more valuable than perfection. Many people believe they need the perfect morning routine, the perfect workout plan, the perfect study schedule, but perfection isn't what changes lives. Consistency does. It's better to study for 30 minutes every day than 5 hours once a month. It's better to exercise 3 times every week for years than to work out every day for 1 week and quit. Progress doesn't belong to people who are perfect. It belongs to people who refuse to stop. And here's something I hope you remember. Never underestimate a small action simply because it looks small. Every giant tree started as a seed. Every expert was once a beginner. Every confident person once felt nervous. Every successful life was built one ordinary day at a time. Your future isn't created by one huge decision. It's built by hundreds of ordinary choices that seem too small to matter. The question is, what are today's choices building for your tomorrow? Because whether you realize it or not, every small action is shaping the person you're becoming. In the next part, we'll talk about one of the biggest reasons people stay stuck for years, even when they truly want to change. The life you're living is built by repetition. Part 4. The biggest thing holding you back isn't failure, it's your comfort zone. Let me ask you something. Have you ever known exactly what you needed to do, but still didn't do it? You knew you should study. You knew you should start that project. You knew you should exercise. You even knew that doing it would make your future better. Yet somehow, you still chose the easier option. Maybe you watched another video. Maybe you told yourself, I'll start tomorrow. Maybe you convinced yourself that today just wasn't the right day. The strange part is this: most people don't avoid change because they don't want a better life. They avoid change because their brain loves what feels familiar. Even when your current situation isn't making you happy, it still feels safe because it's what you're used to. Think about it. If someone has spent years procrastinating, procrastination becomes normal. If someone has spent years doubting themselves, self-doubt begins to feel like part of their personality. If someone has always avoided difficult conversations, silence starts to feel more comfortable than honesty. Our brains naturally choose what feels familiar over what feels uncertain. That's why growth often feels uncomfortable, not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're doing something new. Imagine learning to ride a bicycle. The first few attempts are awkward. You lose your balance, you wobble, maybe you even fall. If you judged yourself after those first few minutes, you'd probably decide that riding a bike just isn't for you. But imagine if every child quit after falling once. Almost no one would ever learn. The same thing happens in every area of life. The beginning is supposed to feel difficult. That's not proof you're failing, it's proof you're learning. Unfortunately, many people mistake discomfort for failure. The moment something becomes challenging, they think, maybe I'm not good enough. But what if discomfort is actually a sign that you're growing? Think about going to the gym. When your muscles work harder than they're used to, they become sore. That soreness isn't a punishment, it's a signal that your body is adapting. Your mind works the same way. Every time you challenge yourself, speaking in front of people, learning a new skill, starting a business, applying for a better opportunity, your confidence grows little by little, not because you felt fearless, but because you acted despite your fear. That's something I think many people misunderstand. Confidence doesn't usually come before action. It comes after action. You don't become confident and then take the first step. You take the first step, then confidence slowly follows. This is why waiting until you feel ready can keep you stuck forever. Very few people ever feel completely ready. The people who achieve great things are often just ordinary people who decided to begin before they felt prepared. Another mistake many of us make is comparing ourselves to others. We scroll through social media and see people who seem successful. They look confident, disciplined, happy, and we start asking ourselves, why am I not there yet? But comparison hides the truth. You're comparing someone's highlight reel to your everyday life. You're seeing their success. You're not seeing the years of mistakes, rejection, practice, and persistence that came before it. Everyone starts somewhere. No expert was born an expert. Every writer once struggled to finish a single page. Every athlete was once out of breath after a short run. Every successful entrepreneur once had doubts. Growth isn't about becoming better than someone else. It's about becoming better than the person you were yesterday. Even if today's improvement is only 1%, that's still progress, and progress always beats perfection. So the next time something feels uncomfortable, don't immediately assume you're failing. Ask yourself a different question. What if this discomfort is helping me become stronger? Because the life you want is rarely found inside your comfort zone. It's usually waiting just outside of it. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to build a stronger version of yourself. Every difficult decision is a chance to become more disciplined. Every time you choose growth instead of comfort, you're casting another vote for the person you want to become. One day, you'll look back at the things that once scared you, and you'll smile. Not because they were easy, but because they taught you just how much you were capable of becoming. In the final part of this video, we'll bring everything together and answer one important question: if your habits shape your future every single day, what should you do starting today to become the person you truly want to be? The life you're living is built by repetition. Part 5. Become the person your future self will thank you for. As we come to the end of this video, I want to leave you with one final thought. Imagine waking up 5 years from today. There are 2 versions of your future waiting for you. In the first version, nothing really changed. You kept putting things off. You stayed inside your comfort zone. You waited for motivation. You made promises to yourself but rarely followed through. Life moved forward, but you stayed in the same place. Now imagine the second version. You didn't become perfect overnight. You still made mistakes. You still had days when you wanted to quit, but you kept showing up. You studied. When you didn't feel like it, you read. Instead of endlessly scrolling, you exercised. Even if it was only for a few minutes, you kept the small promises you made to yourself. 5 years later, your life looks completely different. Not because of one lucky moment, not because everything was easy, but because your daily choices slowly built a new future. That's the power of habits. People often ask, what's the fastest way to change your life? I don't think the answer is one huge decision. I think it's making one good decision today, then another tomorrow, then another the day after that. Most people are looking for a dramatic transformation, but real transformation is usually quiet. No1 applauds you for waking up early. No1 celebrates when you finish reading one chapter. No1 notices when you choose discipline instead of excuses. But those moments matter because every small action is like placing one brick. One brick doesn't build a house, but thousands of bricks, placed one at a time, create something strong enough to last for years. Your life is built the same way. Every choice is another brick. Every habit is another brick. Every promise you keep to yourself is another brick. One day, you'll look back and realize that what felt ordinary at the time was actually changing everything. And here's something I truly believe: you don't have to become someone else to create a better life. You simply have to become a better version of yourself. Don't compare your beginning to someone else's middle. Don't wait until you feel confident. Don't wait until everything is perfect. Start with what you have. Start where you are. Start today, because today's choices become tomorrow's habits. Tomorrow's habits become next year's lifestyle, and your lifestyle eventually becomes your identity. The person you're becoming isn't decided by what you dream about. It's decided by what you repeatedly do. So before you leave this video, I want you to ask yourself one simple question. Who do I want to become? Not next year, not someday, starting today. Then ask yourself another question. What is one small action I can take today that matches that person? Maybe it's reading 10 pages. Maybe it's studying for 30 minutes. Maybe it's going for a walk. Maybe it's writing down your goals. Whatever it is, don't underestimate it. Small actions repeated consistently can completely change a life years from now. I hope you'll look back and realize that your future didn't change because of one extraordinary day. It changed because you chose to improve, little by little, every single day. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. I truly hope this video gave you something to think about. If it did, let me know in the comments. What's one habit you're going to start today? I'd love to read your answers. And if you enjoy videos about self-improvement, psychology, productivity, and building a better life, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Until next time, take care of yourself. And remember, your future isn't built by what you do once. It's built by what you choose to do every single day.